Hello, this is Ms. Welch, and today we're going to talk about finding primary sources for research on both the MCHS databases and outside websites. So first, a reminder about what primary sources are. So they're original documents and objects that were created at the time that you're studying. They can be pictures, journals, speeches, letters, newspapers, anything like that that is produced at the time in which you're studying. Okay, they give us a sense of what things were like at the time and how they were perceived by the world around them, and they're really important for use in historical research. Okay, so first we're going to look at using databases to locate these. So I am on the MCHS library website, okay, under research databases. Okay, so one thing I want to point out before we start is that right here it says click for our database login information. So this is crucial if you want to access the databases from your home. It is all of the usernames and passwords that you need to get to those. Okay, so make sure you check that. So most of the databases have primary sources of some kind, but I'm going to point your attention to just a few specific ones. So first, we're going to start down here under the Social Studies Government section with ABC Clio. Okay, so ABC Clio is actually a collection of a number of different smaller databases. So there's government, history, pop culture, world geography. Okay, so you can search all of those databases at once, or you can go to one of those specific databases. It really doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm going to start here in American history. And I'm going to search for 19th Amendment, which gave some women the right to vote. Okay, so from here, in order to specifically find primary sources, okay, you want to move up to the top where it says Advanced Search. Okay, we're going to look for the 19th Amendment. And then you have some options about what kind of results you want to see down here. So I'm going to click all of these documents. So speeches, government documents, letters, newspapers, quotes. Okay, I might also include photos and political cartoons because those can also be primary sources. So we're going to search. Okay, and then we can see here we have the 19th Amendment. It gives us in italics a little bit of an intro to it, and it has the amendment itself right here. So this is the primary source. Okay, you can see right underneath it, we have the MLA citation. You can just copy and paste that into your Works Cited page. You can also save this to your Google Drive. I know most of the databases we have include this option, so it'll save right to a specific folder called ABC Clio. All right, so the second database we're going to look at is InfoBase, Issues and Controversies in American History. Okay, so they're also divided up into like time periods, so you can look there. You can also search at the top. This one, like the title, is organized around specific issues, and then it kind of presents both sides of that issue as well as primary sources. So we're going to use women's suffrage for this. Okay, so we have women's suffrage, a right or a privilege, so taking on an issue of the time. Okay, we can see over here, it'll give you the issue in the background, the case that was made for and against, okay, a timeline, and then a spot for primary sources. Okay, so we can see these documents, the Anthony, Declaration of Sentiments, Lucy Stone. Okay, we can open one of them up, give us a little summary intro here, okay, and then her specific words. So this here is the primary document. Okay, again, they have the option to cite it, so make sure you do that and include it on your Works Cited page. Okay, the third one we're going to look at is Salem history. Okay, these are kind of like online ebooks. So we have literature and history. So under history, okay, there's these defining document books. So these are books specifically designed around primary sources. So you can search up at the top here, but it tends to be a little easier if you know what era of history you're working in. Okay, so we might say maybe in World War II, we know we're researching. Okay, and this is just a list of all different primary sources from that time period. Okay, it's Pearl Harbor speech. Okay, so to give you kind of the date, the author, what genre it is. This is a speech, gives you kind of an overview, kind of defines the issue, what was happening, biography of the author, and then the historical document itself. There is even more analysis down at the end. Okay, so this gives you a lot of information surrounding each primary source, and then it has the citations located down at the bottom. You can also save it to Google Drive over here. Okay, so the next one we want to look at is this ProQuest over here, periodicals only including magazines, newspapers, and scholarly journals. Okay, so say we're going to search women's suffrage again. There's a couple ways you can go about finding primary documents on here. So one, you can change the publication date. So I would look around 1900 to like 1925 maybe and see what comes up then. Okay, you can also just under source type, look for historical newspapers and apply that. Okay, so we can see here the Women's Suffrage Convention from the Chicago Daily Tribune, Chicago, Illinois, was published on November 3rd, 1887. Okay, so that is a primary source, happened in the past, at the time when women's suffrage was getting underway. Okay, these also have citation options. You can download it. One nice thing about this citation is that you can export it to Noodle Tools. So if you're in a class that's using Noodle Tools, you can send the citation directly to your account. And the very last one I want to point your attention to is the ProQuest History Vault. So this is a more challenging database to use. The reason for that is it's mostly just a collection of related papers. It's not as easy to access or understand as the other ones, but they do have really amazing information. So what I would suggest is going to the Browse section, and it gives you the collections that they have. There's not a lot, but they have stuff about immigration, politics, the State Department intelligence reports, in those specific years, and the struggle for women's rights. Okay, so I'm going to look at this one. Okay, so what we see here is those collections of papers I was talking about. This first one here, the National Women's Party Papers, part one for these years. Okay, the correspondence between each other. Right, so if we click on that, all right, it gives us some information about that collection, and then we can view all of the documents. Okay, so we can see some activities, the parade planning, lobbying planning. Okay, so I'm going to pick just one of these to open. And you can see this is a true primary source written directly in their handwriting. Okay, so that's really cool. You want to be as close to history as possible. Okay, the downside of these is that they are not specifically cited. They don't have a citation option. But they do give you a lot of different information here about it, which lets you create your own citation. Okay, so those are the databases I suggest you use if you are looking for primary sources. Next, we're going to look at websites. So there are a lot of different places you can look just on regular Google for primary sources. I'm going to show you two, the Library of Congress and the National Archives. Any website that is like belonging to a museum, a specific subject library, historical societies, anything that's really like educational or dedicated to preserving historical content is going to be a good place for you to go. Okay, so we're going to go to LOC.gov, which is the Library of Congress. Okay, this is actually great. They're highlighting my research topic. Okay, so I'm going to look for the 19th Amendment. Okay, so you're just going to use the refine your results thing options that you used for some of the databases. Okay, you can search by format, by date, by location, where it comes from. I would probably do by date. 19th Amendment, here we go. A headline of Washington Evening Star, suffrage proclaimed as Secretary of State. Okay, so this is a actual copy of a newspaper from that time, so that would be a primary source. Okay, the last one we're going to look at, archives, archives.gov, search for 19th Amendment. Okay, and they actually have a whole section dedicated to it, so you can see the actual amendment itself, which is very exciting and cool, as well as a number of related documents. Okay, so that's the Library of Congress.gov and archives.gov. All right, so that's it for how to locate primary sources on the databases and on